What do you say, everybody? And welcome to the Cubs Baseball Channel. Got a great show for you today. Obviously, Narin Desai is joining us. Our last show was a hit because of you guys, and we appreciate you being here. So like, subscribe, thumbs up, hit the bell so you know when we're dropping new content, off-day content. Lots to talk about today, including the best record in the National League. You got to like that. Let's get this show started. Oh, I didn't forget about you guys, you Cardinals fans. Still looking up at us. Go Cubs. One of the best parts about doing this show is I get to know you guys from the comment section. Narin Desai is one of the best commenters that we have out there. Love getting together with him and talking Cubs baseball. He knows his stuff. Narin, great to see you again. Let's get into this right off the bat. First place, June 2nd. We're 15 games over 500 for the first time since 2018.
Hey, it's pretty exciting. The regulars on the channel probably remember a show we did back before the season started about how the schedule will play out. And here we are, the big checkpoint, June 2nd. And, you gotta give the team, the ownership, Jed, the coaching staff, a lot of credit. They passed with flying colors, best record in the NL, tied. And they're just really set up because, there's a lot of things that, haven't worked out. And that means there's a lot more upside for this team. And they're also in a great position to do things with their good farm system and their resources.
When we look at it, and it's Kyle Tucker, obviously he's made a huge impact. He's made everyone around him better. Seiya Suzuki has been excellent. Pete Crow-Armstrong, we're to talk about him, so hold off on that conversation for right now. But he's been amazing. Dansby Swanson's been hitting. And I think that is always, to me, the most crucial guy on the team because you're paying him to be your star. He's your leader. When he hits, the team plays better. I love it when he's got his, positive energy, when he's having success. But on the offensive side of the ball, it's not just home runs. They can beat you in different ways. They can beat you with speed. They can steal bases if they have to. They can do a little small ball, but they can also drive in runs. And I think that, to me, is the biggest difference on the offensive side as to the success. But to me, the most amazing thing, Narin, is that I don't know how they're doing it with this pitching. I mean, they don't have Shota. They don't have Justin Steele. And yet they're still doing great in the starting rotation, and the bullpen, which is kind of pieced together, has been really consistent.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's where I think our pitching infrastructure really shines, is taking major league pitching and getting the most out of it, like maxing out their capabilities. I wouldn't say we're the greatest at taking like a 8th round pick and turning him into a starter, or a 4th round pick and turning him to a decent starter. But I do think that if you're a major league talent, our pitching infrastructure can get the most out of you. So you're seeing Keller, you're seeing Pomerance, you're seeing these guys that like are major league pitchers talent wise, and then figuring out a way to like fine tune them for max usage. So I think they're doing great. I think that's where how to be in the team really shines. And I think that a lot of that is coming. That's why we're seeing so much success. But at the same time, how long can it last? Because that's always my concern. We talked about in the offseason, like, is this team built for 162? How long can these guys last in a long season, right? Because pitchers just don't throw as much anymore. We've got guys that don't have a track record of pitching 160 plus innings, or just the length of the season, right? Like the 7th and 8th month, from spring training to October. That's the thing that right now is a question, but they're just hitting on all cylinders right now with the schedule being so tough. We were finally going to hit 80 degrees today in Chicago. It was like 59 at game time yesterday. Yeah. So this is an exciting part that we haven't even really seen the hot weather, and we haven't really been, really healthy. So when we get some more health and we get some more, development, I think there's even more upside on this team.
It's amazing to me, finds like Drew Pomerance. Who would have ever thought that Drew Pomerance, a guy they just went and basically stole from Seattle's AAA team, would come in and have that much effectiveness? But you wonder how long that's going to be able to last, right? And I guess what you hope is you get some guys back. Porter Hodge comes back. You get back Shota, right? And maybe if if he falls off, I mean, because there's no way he's going to keep doing what he's doing, right? I mean, there's just no way. I mean, he's been amazing so far for the Cubs. But there's been some luck in this as well.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how they do it, right? Because do you go and acquire pitchers that they think they can last through, August, September, October, or do you maybe get some guys now and maybe, pace these guys, like give them like weeks off, let them throw them in the bullpen, maybe send them down to AAA and like stay locked in, but at the same time save some innings. Like, what are they going to do? How do they bridge that gap, right? That will be interesting to see how they work it. Because right now you have to have Horton in the rotation. Ben Brown had that good outing this past one. So these guys are still developing, but the innings limit and the innings thing will be an issue come August. So I'm just curious to see how they do it. I'm more, let's get some guys that have done it before. I know there's obviously there's a lot of people that have opinions or ideas. I'm just curious to see how they're going to do it. Right? Are they going to go for a Mitch Keller who's got control, or they're going to go for more like a Eovaldi or a Gosman type who's got control, but they're older, right? But they have experience. They've done it before. That'd just be really exciting to see how they go about it, right? Like, I think there's a lot of ways to skin a cat, and I think there's some interesting arms that are going to be available from teams that are underperforming or going to be selling. But who knows what they're going to want? Do they want Kevin Alcantara? Do they want Triantos? Do they want Jefferson Rojas? Do the Cubs want to trade Jefferson Rojas? So it's impossible to know. These are all secrets, within organizations. Us fans, we're just trying to like dissect, the tea leaves.
Yeah, right. And I'm curious how that it looks too, or are you going to trade Owen Casey? I mean, are you willing to make a blockbuster deal to help the rotation? And that's something else I want to talk about later on in the show. But let's talk about this guy right here, Pete Crow-Armstrong. I call him Hollywood Pete. He is a breakout star. If you guys have watched this channel for a long time, I told you that he was going to be great. He's better than I thought, honestly. I feel like the only weakness in his game is on base percentage. And I think that he'll eventually get better at identifying pitches and maybe taking some more walks. But that is nitpicky when you talk about being the best defender in the game. I mean, the best defender in the game. The base running's unbelievable. How about him scoring from first on that double yesterday by Dansby? I mean, like, he could have ran right back to second base and they wouldn't have got him, right? All the way around home into second. He's so fast. The power has been great. He's been clutch. But the enthusiasm and the energy that he brings to the team, the fact that these guys, he's earned their respect now and he's able to play his game the way he likes to play it. He's a guy that on the other team, you probably hate him. Like I said in the very beginning. And when he's on your team, you love him. And it's played out that way. Boy, he is just so much fun. And he's the Cubs version of Ellie De La Cruz or Fernando Tatis or Bryce Harper. I mean, he really is. He's that young, exciting player that you can't take your eyes off of.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about that in the offseason. The Cubs needed a big bat, and you hope one comes from an acquisition that's proven, and one of these young guys turns into one of those guys, right? And who knew when it was going to happen, right? It could have been Bush, it could have been Matt Shaw, but it was PCA. We knew PCA had the talent, right? It was clear that he had a lot of talent. It was just a question of, could he put it all together? When he would put it all together? It would be, right now, like we're seeing, or would it be later in the year, or would it come down the line? It's just been amazing. And he's going to own this city. I mean, if he wants to, he can own this city. We don't have any other really big stars within the city, and he can own Wrigleyville. And I mean, I kind of like, Shohei is the two-way player, but really PCA is our two-way player because he is a platinum. He's going to be a platinum MVP candidate because he's going to get that platinum glove. He makes balls that are low catch probability look easy, and when he dives for the ball, I think that ball he caught in the ninth inning the other day was 10% catch probability. There's probably a bunch of balls that he just camps under that would have like a 20% probability, but his break is amazing. And I kind of want to see something like crazy where they use like half as a floater and then just let PCA cover like 2/3 of the outfield. I mean, I'm ready to see something crazy like that one day.
The funny thing is that you do talk about that catch probability and the plays that he makes. He's why they came up with the stat war, right? Because you try to quantitate how much of a difference he makes compared to other guys that do the same thing as him. And the defensive ability that he has is killer. His base running is great.
His arm.
Yeah, his arm, but the power. Like, I always liked his wrists, you know, and I posted a video of me talking about him when he went from AA to AAA. I was like, they look strong, and he hit for power. I saw this, but seeing him do it at the major league level after how bad he struggled there at the beginning is awesome. So you're right. He's going to own the city. And I don't think if the Cubs extend him, which I think that they should, I don't know if he'll do it or not. Ken Rosenthal is like, hey, don't do it. I think you take the money. If they're going to give you $140 million, it's an insurance policy. I don't think the money's going to change him because he grew up with money anyway. You know, I think sometimes when people don't grow up with money and they get money, it's a different story, you know, like and I remember Jim Hendry telling me one time, you know, money doesn't come with instructions, you know, just talking about a contract that they gave somebody, and, you know, and that person never played the same again, you know, and that's the tough thing as executives. And which, by the way, guys, I love Jim Hendry. That was great. Just on, you know, dealt with the circumstances that he had. And I know we give him a lot of shit for not, you know, having success, but I mean, it was really, really bad behind the scenes, the stuff that he was having to deal with the Tribune and not wanting to invest in the team and all of that stuff. And he made it work. But plus he was a really great guy too. And he still is. But anyway, like, you know, kind of a side note there. But he said that, and I've always thought about it, you know. And so you give somebody a contract, but I don't think it's going to change him. This guy loves to win, and he enjoys the game so much. There's a passion that he plays with. It's infection.
How's he motivated? No, everyone's different, right? You don't know until you get to know somebody or you like know him personally. But it seems like he wants to be great, not like just good or just want to make a few all-stars. I think he wants to be great for a long time. I think he has a lot of, like, you know, baseball heroes and idols, and they're not good for 2 or 3 years. They're good for, you know, over a decade, right? 12, 14 years. So if he's motivated by that and winning championships and being in October, being on, you know, like you said, Hollywood, wants to be on the bright lights. I mean, who knows about the extension in terms of what he's motivated by, his representation. But, you know, his dad's from Naperville. How much does that matter? You know, like in terms of influence, like being a Cub, you know, versus like getting a chance to go back out west. Does that matter to him? Like, nobody knows that stuff unless you're friends with him or in his family. But yeah, and also he kind of plays with a lot of recklessness. So, you know, that's a factor too in terms of just getting security. So who knows? I hate to speculate on contracts. You know, I'm more of a like, man, we got him right now, and like we got a chance to do something. To me, I think would be one of the biggest upsets in sports right now is beating the Dodgers, and that's, to me, is like, I'm more excited about that idea of beating the Dodgers this year or next year with that, you know, murderers row roster they have, than anything else. That's the best part about the season so far.
Hanging out with Narin Desai. I'm Mick Gillespie on the Cubs Baseball Channel. Thank you guys for talking with us and being part of the show. Make sure that you like and subscribe, and also hit the bell so you know when we're doing live content, and also get in the comment section and be a part of it. That's how I know Narin, from just great comments. All right, Kyle Tucker, got some updates on Kyle Tucker. Top 8 player, but what about the injured finger? X-rays came back negative. Basically, they're saying that it looks worse than it is. No structural damage as well. But you always get a little nervous when your star player takes an injury to the hand. I mean, just because your hands have so many small bones. He's been unbelievable. 284 hitter, 12 home runs, 10 doubles, 4 triples, 39 runs batted in. He's walked more than he struck out this year. I mean, think about like just everything that he does. He's a Gold Glove caliber outfielder. He's made everybody on the team better. He's the guy in the lineup that you're like, you know what? I don't want to tangle with him in a tough situation. Gave up a lot to get him, but he's lived up to that so far. And I feel like he has been the most valuable player on this team.
Yeah, I mean, it's been amazing, like in terms of just that threat of him at that number 2 spot with men on base or in a big spot. I think there's a huge trickle down effect of his bat. And I also think his impact in terms of, like Seiya doesn't feel like has to carry the team this year. And I think there's a huge down impact to like guys like Bush and Swanson and PCA and things like that. I just think that, we all were kind of like pining as fans, like, oh, what if we have like one or two, all-star bats or, feared bats? We got them now. And now you can see the big difference in this team. And they got to extend them. They got to try and keep them. Who knows what his motivations are? But, I'm super excited, right? Like this team with his bat, this roster, if we can shore up some like 4, who knows if they're on the team or not, but if there's 4 stud pitchers within this roster, you can be really dangerous in October. And that's what I'm excited about. I'm excited that we could, really make a run, not through just the season, but like really being set up for October. I mean, it's not going to be easy. You got the Phillies, the Mets, the Dodgers, the Padres. I mean, it's going to be a challenge to get through October baseball. So that 2 seed is like 1 or 2 seed. That's going to be a huge advantage. So Tucker's just been, just a dream come true for fans. And yeah, we gave up a lot for him, but it's worth it. Like we just weren't going to get a guy like that in the free agent circle right now, the way Jed and Tom are operating. And this proves that you got to get them and you got to keep them.
And that's the question. Are you going to go and outbid the Dodgers and the Yankees and whoever else for this guy? Are you willing to pay, $600+ million for a guy? Juan Soto got that money from the Mets, and his statistics haven't been great. His season hasn't been great, but when you look at the analytics, I mean, he's just having bad luck. He's hitting the ball hard. It's a lot of money for one player. But I feel like the Cubs are the type of market that they should be able to have the resources to sign someone. And when you put one of these rosters together, these are the type players that you want to build around.
Yeah, I mean, they're just going to have to figure out the benefit. I mean, the cost benefit analysis of it, in terms of the hard thing to do with all these contracts. How do you predict what someone's going to be at age 36? Like that's like 7 years down the road. Like, how do you do that? Right. So that's the hard part, those 36, 37, 38, 39 years that you got to pay in these long-term contracts. It's kind of crazy, but it's a risk. It's the price of poker to get in. So that's up to the organization. I do think that they're going to, I've looked at the roster, payroll, things like that. There's some flexibility that they can have that one big guy and then, a couple of guys will backload from the farm system down the line to keep this balance. But I'm also a believer that the Cubs have a streaming service, so they need subscribers. They sell a ton of merch. They've got 2 Japanese players on the team. They can make that money back if they're good. They're going to make that money back. And, Chicago kind of hit, like I live in Chicago, like the Chicago's not the same as it was pre-COVID. So if the Cubs are good, I think they're going to see a little bit of like a place to be kind of in the summer of Chicago. People want to come to the city and enjoy a day in Chicago with the Cubs and all the other things you can enjoy in the city. I think that's something that you're going to see the Cubs benefit from if if there's this buzz, there's like this, everyone's a Cub fan, everyone's excited, and it's not like a 1-year thing. It's got to be a multi-year thing to kind of get the culture back. And I think the Ricketts and the organization will get that money back that they go to 275 in the payroll. Yeah, you have to pay a tax, but they'll get it back. I mean, think how much you see these blue jerseys everywhere, the new alternate jersey. You see them everywhere in Chicago. Those are 150 bucks each. Yeah, I mean, like they're 150 bucks each. They're going to get that money back. I mean, I used to have a debate a little bit with people on Twitter, like how much, how many Ohtani jerseys would people buy if the Cubs got them? It'd be like millions. There's so many Cub fans worldwide, and then you got the Asian market. So I just think there's a huge advantage here that the Cubs have an opportunity here to like kind of lean in now that PCA has emerged and you got Tucker. And you have other young players coming through. So it's not like it's ending, right? So I think it's a huge opportunity. And look, we all complained about Jed in the offseason, but look, there's a lot of different ways to skin a cat. And, the way they're doing it is working this year. So, just keep going. Like now it's to lean in.
Yeah, look, there's another thing too. The White Sox have been so terrible. There's rumors that they might move to Nashville or somewhere else. You could take over by having this kind of a season. It just feels like the White Sox are just kind of becoming so irrelevant, right? And if you ever got them out of town, just from a business standpoint, I mean, think about it. You're sharing some of the market with the White Sox. And nothing's working for them. Their team's terrible. There's rumors that they're leaving town. There's people getting shot at their stadium. I mean, like the news just always seems to be like something terrible come about the White Sox. And here are the Cubs, like with an opportunity to, like, the Wrigley Field's great. Hey, we're going to do some renovations to it. We're going to try to get the All-Star game. It's a huge, it is a huge draw nationally, internationally. People love going there. So I agree with you, man. And having a team that wins makes a big difference. Yeah, I love that shirt. So, I mean, like, look, I'm with you. And,
they have a huge advantage. They're the only game in town almost like every Friday at home. Yeah. There's no other games on. They have exclusive rights technically to the national audience on Fridays. Like, like to me, that's like a huge advantage, right? Like if you're the only game in town in the summer on a Friday afternoon, not only to go, but like to watch, like people are out at happy hour or whatever. Like you have that advantage. You also have obviously play Saturday afternoon games too. There might be a few more games on, but not everybody, right? So you just have these built-in advantages. And yeah, you can own the city. And then, the White Sox here, there's a big fan. I'm actually from the Southwest suburbs. Like I grew up in like White Sox country, but I'm a huge Cub fan because of WGN, and they were on when I came home from school. And, but yeah, like, the Reinsdorfs, don't care or don't think about, they don't care about the fans. They care about like their operational or their bottom line or whatever, like the people that work at the organization versus the fans. So yeah, the Cubs right now, I mean, it's already a Cubs town. So it's like, could it be like 10% more of a Cubs town? Yeah, it could be, like kids, they don't watch games. It's like we did. So yeah, there's a huge generational thing, but then like just, compared to the coast, like there's another opportunity for players to live a more of a normal life. Like you have these day games, you get nights off. Like you live in the neighborhood, like, yes, you can walk to work, things like that. Yeah. Like you can actually have a home in a city. Like you're not living in these people that live in River North or the downtown. I mean, that's not like, if you have a family and stuff like that's not ideal. Like see Ben Zobrist with his kid, like riding his bike to the game. Like that's a real life. That's like, you're going to enjoy living in Chicago. So yeah, the Cubs are a huge draw. These guys that live in LA, they have these long traffic, they live far away. Yeah, it's beautiful, but like, day to day, you have to drive to the Bronx. Who wants to drive to the Bronx every day? I'm sure it's great, but like compared to like living in Wrigleyville or living in the north side or living in a north suburb, if you've got a big house, compared to that, I mean, I think it's way different, right? So yeah, I just think that's a huge opportunity for the Cubs to kind of just lean in. Like they have it now, right? They were kind of waiting for it. Like Jed was like very like transparent, like in 22 and 23, like we don't know when it's going to all come together and things like that. Now it's coming together, right? So now
they don't have a choice, because if it doesn't, they're all fired, and they still might get fired. So, or not re-sign.
They might not re-sign. They might get another opportunity somewhere else if Brickens doesn't want to give them 5 years.
It's their career. Yeah. Now they have an argument.
Give him 5 years. Like, I'll give you a 3-year extension. He's like, I'm going to get 5 years somewhere else. You're going to go somewhere else. And think of how many bad teams there are. Like got Colorado, Pittsburgh. I mean, there's so many bad teams that are going to be looking for front office help, right? And but Jed played the game with Tom, right? When they had to cut after COVID. So I mean, from that perspective, there should be some loyalty there. But yeah, who knows, right? I think Jed's going to get that extension. I thought it was in the bag all along because he cut payroll when they needed to, and he played the game. He played the long game with the team, and now it's coming to fruition. Why would you? You understand, like the people in the front office, like they have a master plan. Like they've got a big whiteboard or big board in the front office. Like their master plan is going to come to fruition. And why would you stop now?
Yeah. Well, and the other thing, and we're going to change the subject, but Marquee's been a financial letdown, and I think there's a lot of reasons why. But if they could ever get that to be something that compelled people like WGN used to, they could maybe, even change the game more. I mean, and that's a whole nother show. All right, let's talk about this. So you brought this up, Japanese impact players. Japanese players are coming over, and I mean, they are literally stars. I mean, and they're coming over and Shota Imanaga, Shohei Ohtani, even Sasaki, we tried to get him. He signed with the Dodgers. Yamamoto, like you look around and there's some really good ball players from Japan, and you kind of brought it up to me. You're like looking at the roster, and saying, hey, Baltimore's got a guy maybe we could get. There's some guys that are coming over from Japan here in the next few years that, you might be able to grab. The World Baseball Classic's always an opportunity to see those guys. But Japanese players are, like, for the Cubs, two of their best players are from Japan. Their best player last year was the only all-star they had was Shota. So it's definitely a good place to look to find talent.
Yeah, and I was just thinking about that yesterday, making coffee, thinking about looking up the stories and stuff like that. And I was just thinking, like, oh, who are they going to get? I'm always kind of messing around on Fangraphs. And I was just thinking, the World Baseball Classic is coming up. Dodgers have a lot of injured pitchers. If the Cubs are playing the Dodgers or they're, head to head against them in October, and you got the World Baseball Classic coming up, and we know the Asian market is a growth market. Like, I mean, they're really knowledgeable. You remember when the Cubs played, they're chanting PCA in the crowd. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty impressive, right? Like, PCA didn't break out. He's playing in Chicago. He's playing when the games are on there in the middle of the night, and they know they're chanting PCA in the crowd. So PCA is the breakout star. You already got Seiya and Imanaga. Maybe the Cubs could really position themselves as an alternative to the Dodgers if they could beat them in October or play them tough in October. So I just think there's a lot of business opportunity from that perspective. So, like, the next wave of Japanese players that comes up, he's like, hey, Chicago, like, that looks like a vibe. And Imanaga's got such an outgoing personality versus Seiya that, like, he's doing ads, he's singing "Go Cubs Go" and things like that. Like, I think it could be a really good opportunity, for the next wave, right? Because it's not just about this year, right? It's about year after year after year, the next wave of talent. So, and, like, there's a lot of talent still coming this way. Like, I think I read on Fangraphs, like, ETAs, like, next year and the year after, who knows how accurate those are. But yeah, I mean, the next wave of talent, if the Cubs win this year with Seiya and Imanaga, as the stars with the World Baseball Classic, if PCA is in the World Baseball Classic and a few other guys, Kyle Tucker's on the World Baseball Classic, we're going to get known. Like, our players are going to be known, and then we're going to put, put us further on the map for those players. And like I said, there's a lot of other things, like only game in town on Friday, like things like that. I mean, those are advantages that, that the team could really play against, in terms of marketing those athletes. And, who knows with the payroll, like, some of these payrolls are going to get maxed out. So it's not limitless.
Yeah, look, I don't really want to sit here and act like I know about the Asian market, other than you're talking about guys that absolutely love baseball. I was doing a Smokies game, and the owners of the team that hosted Shohei Ohtani came by. They were looking at they're building a new stadium in Japan, and they were by there, and it was like just talking to those guys about the passion that Japanese fans have for baseball. I love it. I love that. I've talked about this on here. I love the culture that they bring. That in Japan, it is such a big deal to play baseball, and the team aspect of it and the fundamentals that they bring to the table, because they're taught that, they're taught that game. But I also love the passion and the enthusiasm that I see in the Caribbean World Series and those teams. And one of the things I loved about the World Baseball Classic was I felt like American players they were just too country club. I never liked that. I like the Ryan Friel type guys, that are going to go out there. Pete Rose, who just got back into baseball, even though he's passed, but just like the guys that just played all out, right? Like Pete Crow-Armstrong's that kind of guy. I love those players.
I really love the World Baseball Classic.
But it was America.
I was so into it with the Latin teams. It was like all-star games level, level game talent, but that mattered, right? So the intensity was amazing. So yeah, I mean, they should be. I'm loving the fact that they did it, and they're going to do the Olympics too, maybe as well. It's like 28.
Like at the beginning, it was like, oh, I don't want to play in this. I don't. Yeah. Now it's like, everybody wants to play in it. Because they saw. The other countries like the Dominican, all those guys want to play.
Oh, Venezuela was like, they looked like unbeatable in the beginning.
Japan, it's more important than the regular season to those to those players. So it pushed the United States players to say, you know what, man, it ain't about the money. And that's been my biggest criticism of baseball in general, or guaranteed contracts. in the fact that there's that these guys get paid, and then all of a sudden some of them don't care anymore. And I love the World Baseball Classic because it's not about money. It's about pride, and it's awesome. All right.
Yeah. It's about
final
country
topic.
and in competition.
Yeah. I love that. And look, I hope Major League Baseball allows the players to play in the Olympics in 2028. That would be awesome in LA. All right. Dodgers versus Cubs. All right. I'm going to tell you this, Narin, and you might not like this, but I know the Dodgers have a ton of guys on the IL right now in their rotation. But if they get them all back, Blake Snell, Tyler Glasnow, they got Ohtani starting to throw now. He's sitting bullpens. Clayton Kershaw. They could have a staff of just, stars. My biggest concern for the Cubs is you get into a short series and, Colin Ray's great. Matthew Boyd's been great. Ben Brown's been good sometimes, been inconsistent, but you can definitely see he's got, I feel like by the end of the season, Cade Horton's going to be the guy that you would probably have at 1 or 2. Hopefully Shota's back by then. But when you match these two teams up, the rotations to me don't match up. And that's where I feel like the Cubs have their biggest weakness. Other than that, the Cubs can hit with the Dodgers. The Cubs have beaten the Dodgers. I don't think the Cubs are intimidated by the Dodgers. And Pete Crow-Armstrong loves to kick their ass.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely the matchups for October. I mean, it's hard to predict where they're going to be at. But the luxury the Dodgers have is that they can house these guys on the IL, wait till they're healthy, wait till they're all perfect, and then they can bring them back and get them tuned up for October. That's their depth advantage is, significant over us or any team, really, any team in the league. But, they can be beat. Any team can be beat. If you have a hot couple pitchers in the bullpen, a hot couple starters, they can be beat. So that's, to me, it's going to be just a dream matchup to, dream scenario of beating them, beating Ohtani, beating that team in October, going to the World Series. But yeah, the Cubs have a long way to go from that perspective. But I think Imanaga are built for that moment. I think PCA is built for the moment. Tucker's built for the moment. But they're going to need a few more starters. Ray, I like Ray. I like Boyd. I like these guys. They're going to probably be fine for the next, 60 games. But that's where Jed and the front office is going to have to sit and do some soul searching and be like, what do we need to beat the Dodgers in a short series where every pitch matters? I like Tyone, right? But Tyone is like a number 2 versus the bottom half of the league. But he's a number 4 or 5 against the top 8 of the league. Right. And that's the thing, and I like the guy, I don't want him to get traded or, get pushed, thanks for the innings, but we got to win these. We got to win these tough matchups, right? When the money's on the line. Right. So that's the one thing that they're going to have to figure out on who do they think is built for the moment at the end and who's pitching their best baseball and who's got stuff left in the tank. I love Palencia, man. I hope he really throws. He really is a max effort guy. So I really hope that he learns to figure out how to pace himself, and the Cubs use, judgment on how to preserve him because he's got an electric arm. I'm excited. I hope he's pitching late in September and October.
Yeah. Well, here's the problem that I have. Okay. When the Cubs made serious runs in the postseason, 2003, they had, we'll go back to 80, 84, right? You had Sutcliffe, at the top of your rotation, the Cy Young Award winner, but great pitcher. They had in 03, you had Kerry Wood and Mark Pryor. 2016, you had Arrieta and Lester, right?
Hendricks,
well, 2007 and 2008, when you looked at the top of the rotations, you had Ted Lilly, who I thought was good. But not that elite. I mean, good, but not super elite, right? And that's where I worry with where the Cubs are right now. I think that Cade Horton could be that guy, which is why I did the show about Paul Skeens, because you keep hearing people talk about Paul Skeens possibly being available. Maybe the Pirates don't want to pay him, and I think there's some truth to that because when you start hearing stuff like this, there's a reason why. So quietly, they could be asking. And then it gets out there, hey, we're interested in that. I'm not saying the Cubs are going to get Paul Skeens, but what I'm saying is when I look at where this team lacks in a short series, it's without Justin Steele having, she got Shota Imanaga, and then after that, there's a big fall off. Unless to me, Cade Horton, like I said, can figure it out between now and then, and I think he will. But I don't know.
But can he last to October, regardless of innings? Like,
right? Exactly. That. He's never pitched this much. You're right.
Yeah, he's never pitched 7 months, right? So, like,
so are you going to go out and make the deal? You're going to go out and get an ace, and who's going to shop one? They kept talking about getting, what was it, Lopez from the Twins. He's having a great year.
They're good. They're competitive.
Somebody, I don't know. I mean, the teams that stink normally don't have aces.
You also understand that today in October, it's totally different. Like, guys only pitch. You might get a unicorn that pitches 6 innings, but like for the most part, it's like 4 to 5 innings, and then they try to bring in the hammers from the bullpen. So that sequencing could be totally different. It could be Ben Brown, Cade Horton, right, like as the bridge guys, and they pitch every other day, kind of thing. And there's off days that built into the into postseason as well, so that resets things. So it just could be totally different. But yeah, I mean, I think Imanaga is probably built for the moment. The only issue is he gives up homers. Tyone gives up homers, things like that. You have to worry about. You just need a guy that can really navigate a lineup and execute pitches, which is a totally different game. You're just not going to see that in regular season, right? Mm-hmm. So unless like it's both teams are coming off an off day and like 2 aces are pitching and then the bullpen's rested, you're not going to see that kind of sequencing. But you got to think about the 6 games after in the regular season, right? You don't think about that in the postseason. So I just think it's an apples and oranges comparison. So, but yeah, I mean, who is it going to be? Is it going to be like, some people are pining for like a Chris Sale if the Braves fall out of it, and if the Rangers will trade one of their guys. But like, I think I'm not just trying to channel Jed. I don't think he would do that because I don't think he wants to give up these prospects that he gave, and who knows if they even want them for rentals or for like older pitchers that are making big money. But if they could get a controllable pitcher, I think then it's different, right? Like someone with 3 or 4 years control, like you did that show on Ryan Weathers. But is Ryan Weathers really like going to scare anybody in October? Like, he's a good pitcher. No. He's got great talent, but he's not proven yet, right? He's not proven that he could do that in October, right? So that'll be like, that's just really hard to predict as fans, right? Like, we're just totally like guessing like, oh, his stuff is great. His talent's great, but does he have the intestinal fortitude to show up in October and not, like Kyle Hendricks? I mean, that guy is, ice in his veins, like, and he throws 88.
Yeah. Right. But he always knew how to pitch, though. The problem that I see with this team is that Daniel Palencia, I don't know how many times I've said it on this channel over the last 2 years, has always been the guy I've looked at and said he's got closer stuff, which I'm glad for those of you that watch know I said this 2 years ago, but I didn't know that he had the like you said, the ice in his veins, and he's figured it out. They put him out there. He blew a game, put him back out there again. And there's fire in this guy now. Like he's becoming a pretty good back end guy. There's a guy named Jackson Wiggins I'm going to tell you guys about right now. Keep an eye on this guy. I don't know that he's going to be a starter. They got him starting right now in Double-A, but he has back end bullpen stuff. And if he can figure out how to throw strikes consistently, he's someone that might be able to help the bullpen this year. And those are the kind of guys that when you look at championship teams, they find them and get them to the big leagues, and those guys contribute and help out. But are the Cubs willing? The biggest weakness is having that 1-2 punch at the top of the rotation. Like I'm saying, you could have a great regular season. It goes from a marathon to a sprint. And are the Cubs going to be willing to give up the talent to do it? And remember, when they won the World Series, they didn't have a closer. They were willing to give up the talent to get the closer, and then it worked. Well, then the next year, they gave up talent, too much talent, in my opinion, in that Quintana deal. And I remember talking to scouts in private conversations and going, I don't like this deal. I don't like giving up Dylan Cease, and I don't like giving up the other guy, Jimenez. Now, he didn't turn out to be a star, but Dylan Cease has. I wasn't a fan of Quintana. He's like a 4 or 5 guy, in the rotation. Yeah, you've got to go and get the number 1 guy or number 2 guy. I mean, legitimate, even if it's a 1-year thing. that you can put at the top of the rotation that can go take on the Dodgers, take on the Phillies, take on the Mets, and get those guys. And you need a strikeout pitcher. I mean, that's what plays in the postseason. I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah, you need swing and miss, and you need weak contact. That's like the two things. And you got to keep the ball in the ballpark because we have great defense, right? That's our strength. So they value that. We know the Jed in the front office value keeping the ball in the ballpark, and they value low soft contact and swing and miss. So I mean, these aren't like secrets. It's like every team does for the most part.
Right.
But yeah, I think that's the thing they're going to have to address, and they have to figure out what are they willing to go for, right? Because Tucker's on a last year deal. You don't know. Tomorrow's not promised. 2027 is not promised. So they have to figure out what are they going to go for. Like, to me, like thinking like how Jed thinks, like, hey, can we get Walker Buehler because he's tested in October? Yeah, he's not having a great year, and maybe you root against him not having a great year, but you know that if you could get him, right for October through August through October, potentially, right? Like, would you want to do that, right? Or some other, like a Gosman I would want, because I think he's not scared, right? He's proven he can pitch long into the season and he's not scared, right? So those are the kinds of guys like you want to go for, but who knows who's available, right? Like that's not going to we're not going to know until July 10th, who's available, who's willing to deal. And a team like Baltimore, they're bad, right?
Yeah.
They're going to eat it at the gate. Like, they're going to not draw this summer. So they're going to be different motivation than a team like Toronto that, like, they draw. They're like the, only team in Canada. Like, it's different. They're going to go for it. Right. Or, like a team like the Rockies, like, they don't really have anyone to trade, but like, who knows? Like, and then you have a player like Alcantara who's like depreciating in value because he's on his last option year. Right. Mm-hmm. So you got to figure out, like, how they value all this stuff. And then like a guy like Jefferson Rojas, like, he's not ready right now. So like, as a team's like, oh, we'll wait a year for him and we'll trade you one of our guys. Like, these are like internal algorithms that like teams value. Right. So who knows? Right. So who knows?
Yeah.
Like, I just think it's exciting. It's exciting to speculate. And when they make that deal, we're going to try to like dissect it.
Right. Well, as I get off here, the one thing you don't want to do is trade Rojas, and then it's like the Fernando Tatis trade, and I'm listening to Rick Hahn try to explain it, and I'm like,
I'm scared to trade him.
Crow-Armstrong.
Yeah.
Did you listen to that? And you're like, well, we didn't have the internal blah blah blah. Like when Theo traded DJ LeMahieu for a couple, bag of balls and a washing machine, and you're like, and they just got there and didn't take the time to figure out what they had or listen to the people that told them, and I know Theo did a lot of good stuff, but he did some stuff like that too, but he won a World Series, and that's what matters. All right, Narin, thanks for doing this. This was a fun show. You guys, again, get in the comment section, share with your Cubs friends. Tell us what you think. This is kind of a little longer episode on an off day, but we appreciate all of you guys so much for being here. And we'll do it again. We'll be on here again tomorrow. Go Cubs.